All right, guys. Today we're going to talk about why authors have problems or trouble in their stories, right? Any story you read, you know your main character or characters go through a lot, right? I've got a little quote up there. I wish stories were kinder to their character, but I guess trouble is more interesting to read about. And that's true. And we also learn more about our characters and we learn more about life in general when we have troubles, right? When characters respond to trouble, we learn a lot about them. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to think about some examples of troubles that we've seen characters respond to and what we've learned from that. For instance, our book, Out of My Mind. Melody and Melody's mom went through lots of troubles in their lives and what was happening. And the way Melody responded to those troubles really showed us what a strong and vibrant character she was. It showed her personality, her quirkiness, her sweetness, her kindness, her resilience. And we learned all of that because of the way she responded to the things that happened to her, the troubles in her life. So, in order to continue to grow our understanding of our text, I want us to think about our characters and how they face troubles. So, when we see a character facing a problem, we need to ask ourselves a few questions. First of all, what does this character learn about ways to deal with this problem? What does the character learn because of this problem? How are they dealing with it? What does the author teach us as readers through the way this character learns to handle a problem? So let's think about shells. Let's think about some problems that Michael faces. Obviously, we can't turn and discuss with a partner right now, but let's think about some problems. Michael has to deal with the fact that he is living with his aunt who he doesn't know very well. So he's living with essentially, it seems like a stranger. How does he deal with that problem? Obviously, he has the very large problem that his parents just recently passed away. How is he dealing with the loss of his parents? We've talked about that in class a little bit and how hard that must be for him being only 14 years old. He's also very lonely. He doesn't know anybody in this new place and he hasn't connected with his aunt yet. It doesn't sound like he's connected with any of his teachers and he hasn't really connected with any of the other students. So he's also lonely. Those are all some problems that he's dealing with, okay? So let's think about one of these problems specifically. So I'm going to think about how he's lonely. So I can go to the one scene where Michael says he's lonely. He's talking about how much he misses his parents. But in this scene, he's really just naming his problem. He's not actually learning about how to deal with it. So instead, I'm going to think about later in the story where Michael and Aunt Esther are sitting on the couch together. Okay? Here's where I think Michael is starting to learn something in this scene on his problems. So I'm going to zoom in on that scene. So in the book, I'm going to read a little section to it. All right? So what does the character learn? And I want to think about that. Then she flopped down on the couch beside Michael. Oh, what would your mother think, Michael, if she could see this mess we've gotten ourselves into? She looked at Michael with a broad smile, but it quickly disappeared. The boy's eyes were full of pain. Okay, so here Michael's dealing a little bit with being lonely because he's letting himself cry. So far, he hasn't really let himself feel the loneliness yet. So this is one way that we deal. Sometimes when you're sad or when you're upset or when you're lonely, you have to just let yourself cry. So here Michael's letting him feel the emotions he needs to feel. That's how he's dealing with his problem. He's letting himself be sad. Okay, let's go to the next part. Oh my, she whispered, I'm sorry. Michael turned his head away. Aunt Esther, who had not embraced anyone in years, gently put her arm about his shoulders. I am so sorry, Michael. Oh, you must hate me. Michael sensed a familiar smell then, his mother's talc. He looked at his aunt. No, Aunt Esther. He shook his head solemnly. I don't hate you. All right. Seems to me like Michael is dealing with this problem, both crying a little bit and trying to hide his emotions. Now he's turning away, but he decides to do the opposite. At first, he turned away from his aunt, but then he looks at her and he expresses his feelings. Okay? Instead of just looking away from her, he looks at her and says, no, Aunt Esther, I don't hate you. So what does he learn while he deals with this problem? I think Michael's learning how to deal with a tough situation. He's learning how to deal with loneliness. He's learning that sometimes when you're lonely, you have to talk about it and you have to feel your feelings. And Michael's learning that here. Now it's going to be your turn to try this. I have a discussion board here. On this discussion board, I want you to look at the character of Aunt Esther or Michael. I want you to find one problem that either of those characters face. How did they deal with them? Use specific text evidence to answer that question. And what can we learn about that character? And what can we learn about our own lives based on the way that he's dealt with them? You can use one of the other problems that I've mentioned with Michael, or you can talk about maybe some problems that Aunt Esther is going through and dealing with this, okay? After you finish this assignment, please submit this part of it. And then tomorrow we're going to work on our thesis statements. Thanks, guys. Bye.